Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new edition of Message of Hope. And today I have the pleasure to be with Karen Miller, who joins us from Vancouver, British Columbia. And she's a retired nurse and an emotional health guide. So, welcome, Karen.
Welcome. Thank you, Martine. Welcome to you.
No, thank you for agreeing to participate. So I'm going to ask you the famous question. And the question is, how does having this understanding, inside out understanding, how does that help you navigate stress or anxiety, um, lockdown, COVID, whatever shows up in your life?
That's a big question. Um, Over the last, golly, it's 40 some odd years, um, initially I recognized that I was a stressed out person and didn't know I was. And I think sometimes we walk through life not understanding that we're having that much stress until someone helps us to see something other than what we're experiencing. So initially, I was drawn to the fact that there are feelings and emotions that I didn't spend a lot of time with, like contentment and wonder and more peace of mind. I mean, I was loving my life. I was a happy go lucky kind of person. But when I started recognizing and wanting to see something beyond what my situation or my feeling, my world was like, this was the most exciting thing that ever came across my table. I started wanting to know more about this, and I would say one of the biggest things that it's done is it gives me a way to see and understand what's going on a regular basis. For instance, this weekend I had an email from a client who um, she had gotten some news, some information that scared her. And I didn't initially think about what I was calling it, but I liked the idea that what I saw was it was unsettling news. Because all unsettling news is new information, new thought. It's now in your head. And what you do with that is what determines if that unsettling information is going to take you for a ride, or if you just go, oh, I've just got some new thought. I think I should ask someone, should I do about this? And she was waning between fear and anxiety and what'll I do? And, there was all of this fear and feeling like, what'll I do? And she also has a little bit of an understanding of the principles. So she kind of also was feeling the calm between the stormy thinking. So she asked me, can I Zoom you this weekend? And I said, my first thought was, I really want to have this weekend be sacred. And when I say that, I do hold time sacred. And what I mean by that is that I wanted to not have any thought about doing anything. I wanted it to just be a time that was going to be really, when I say sacred to me, I looked up the word sacred. And you know what it said? Connected with God. And I said, right on. That is exactly what I wanted to tell her. So I wrote her and expressed that feeling like I wanted to take time to be sacred. That could be anything because it doesn't come in a form.
True.
But I knew that I wanted my time to just be for me to watch it unfold. I didn't want to have a lot on my mind. And actually, I love what I ended up writing because it was one of those things where you just know that um, this is all that it is. So let me just pull it up here for you because I think it's worth a read actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah. So I said, I hold my weekend sacred. I trust in the sacred a lot. The dictionary says connected with God. Yeah, that seems about right. I hold time sacred whenever I can. Nothing has changed today other than that you have new information, new thought. What you do with that info is all that is happening. You're okay. You just have new thoughts. Holding time to be sacred would be of benefit. The info that you have, the thoughts you have, the feelings you have, they'll not be lost. You can pick them up again. In fact, I believe it's going to be hard for you to put them down. It's a pesky human habit. Nonetheless, nothing else has changed. Putting it on the back burner and amping up your soul's volume is a better choice. Hope you can give yourself some sacred time. That's where answers lie. So I feel like I've always got this guide inside me, as we've heard from different curriculum that's out there in today's world. You know, there is this inside that guides me as I go through each experience, whether they be fun ones or difficult ones. So there's something to be said about, yeah, seeing behind the curtain, seeing that I'm making this up and it's moment to moment, and that every experience I go through is a different opportunity, because I can go through any experience in a multitude of ways. But if I can bring myself back to that sacred place of just knowing I'm just walking through this, it's so much easier than having a lot on your mind. And I'll just give you another example. I had total knee replacements, 2 of them done on the same day. They told me to be at the hospital at 10, I think it was, or maybe 9. They expected my surgery to be at 11. My surgery didn't happen until well after 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I did not take books or a phone or anything to entertain myself. I lay on a stretcher in that hospital for an entire day. And all I did was watch and see and observe. I wasn't thinking anything that was making me feel anything bad. I was just in the experience of being in the room, lying on the stretcher, waiting for surgery. Now, everyone knows we could all be in a million other, like, damn it, why didn't I bring my phone? And this is so boring. And, what the heck is that guy over there doing? And my mind could go all over the place, or I could be sitting there worrying about it, thinking about pain and suffering, who knows what's going on. It's like, I actually couldn't believe it, that I could be sitting there with nothing on my mind basically for hours. And it's like, it's not that your mind stops thinking, but when your mind slows down, you're really more part of being part of life. And so many times in the past, I was running through my life in my head. So to me, it's just freed me up. I have called a lot of my classes things like Lighten Up, similar to what other people speak about, because when I'm lightened up about anything, it doesn't mean that I'm not feeling pain, suffering, compassion, and empathy, and all the things for myself and for others. I can have all of that too. But I generally spend more time in a peaceful state, because I've learned that my thinking is not something I have to keep playing with. Worry was one of my favorites. I had a mom who was a worrier, so I learned how to be a really good worrier. And then one day I just realized, what the heck am I doing? That doesn't change anything but my blood pressure. And so little things, they're called insights, but it's like you just start recognizing, like, well, that's not a very smart thing to do. Or why would I think I know what Martine's thinking? I used to think I knew what people were thinking, or I would think, what the heck's the matter with them? Why don't they think the way I do? Can't they see clearly? I just don't spend my time in my head nearly as much. So I feel like it's kind of given me back. I feel younger now than I did 20 years ago. When the Olympics came to Vancouver, I thought I'd be too old to enjoy them. And I had a blast. But I look now and I just think, I'm younger now than I was then. I enjoy my life more, and I'm so much lighter. So part of it is, learning how to lighten up. We might not all be enlightened tomorrow, but at least we're lightening up. And that's a much easier way to walk through life. They say that angels fly because they don't take themselves so seriously. So there you go. I'll guide you to emotional
the power
health.
of the now.
What's that?
It reminds me of the power of the now.
Yeah, that's all you ever have. The pandemic has been an opportunity for a lot of people to recognize, and some don't, but the fact is that all we ever have is what we have in front of us right now. There's nothing ever for certain other than change. So when we all think we want to get back to what was our known, or we are afraid of the unknown, we're just kidding ourselves, because there is nothing other than us not knowing. So I find that there's a beauty in that. I don't fear that. I just know it's a 50-50 chance either way. And until I know, I don't know.
And actually, we always lived in the unknown. We're just good at assuming that things will turn out the way we want them to turn out.
Exactly.
But your first thing, I have this little thing here. See my little brain? And when people cannot let loose of something, now it's like, oh, yeah, you can put it in the brain and keep it now away for a little while. Well, you don't need it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, honestly, it's the best gift that I've ever gotten. And it allows, when I talk to clients today, they'll often be mesmerized by the fact that you can walk through life not having to be on a schedule. There is no place to have to be. And for a lot of young people, I see a lot of their stress comes from, well, but by this age, I should have this degree, or I should be having this position in the job, or I should have a baby and be married by now. And I just see how much we don't allow for our lives to unfold as much as we are rather demanding about how it should come. And it's a real beautiful thing to be able to walk into any interview and say, well, if I didn't get the job, it wasn't mine. You know, when I went to buy a house, if I didn't get the house, I think, well, it wasn't ours. I feel like if we can walk through life not feeling like, yeah, well, they didn't have salmon tonight, and that's what I went to the restaurant for. Like, if we're so demanding of things having to be a certain way, it certainly makes our life a little bit more unhappy.
Yeah. Very good at that. But with the 3 Ps, it's not that we're floating on clouds, people, all the time, but it's just that we go back to our center much more quickly.
Yeah, and when you're in something that isn't pleasant, you know that it's going to pass, because everything always does. Nothing ever stays forever. But we certainly try to hang on to it. When I first learned how much thinking we do a day, and people could say different, but even if you said 100,000 thoughts a day, I've had more clients tell me, are you kidding? I think I certainly surpassed that number. And if we have all these thoughts and we have the ability to think whatever we want, why the heck am I thinking the same thing over and over again? Like, I just saw the silliness of me being in this kind of tape that was going on and on for whose entertainment? Mine, I guess, because I was doing it to myself. I just realized that I didn't want to be on that, wheel.
We have no control of which thoughts comes to us, but we have a control of which one we want to entertain.
Yeah.
If yesterday's thought was not happy, I don't have Netflix now. I'm probably one of the 3 people in the world that doesn't have it. But let's say there's a movie that comes up and you hated the movie the first time around. You're not going to sit down and watch the same movie because you didn't like it. And yet you entertained the same thoughts as yesterday. So, yeah.
It's the other thing that people find really important, I think, to know is about the roller coaster. Because like you say, we all have our ups and our downs. But before I knew better, I could be on that roller coaster. And if I went down, I could get into being depressed, and I could call you and tell you how hard life is, and we could really get into it. I've learned I don't have to stop and get off the roller coaster and talk to the other nurses and, complain. Well, you did a lot of backstabbing and griping and complaining. And once you start recognizing, whoa, that doesn't help very much when I'm stressed and tired and overwhelmed as a nurse and I'm down in that low spot, for me to just go over it with you and for you to say, me too, you think your day was bad, let me tell you about mine. That was common for us. And then it became something where it was like, no, not a great idea. It's not that you don't talk about stuff, but you have a time limit on it because you know it's not benefiting you to stay there. So the roller coaster ride becomes less of this really extremes of ups and downs, or that you don't stay down as long. So the curve, human activity is always going to be changing. It's like the tides come in and go out, and there's, I think Sid Banks's one famous quote was just the fact that it's a contact sport, life, and we're all going to have our stuff. So it's really more a matter about, yeah, where's your head at? And if you can see that thinking in a negative way is not helping, and thinking positive isn't helping either. Because thinking
No.
positive is just adding extra thinking, and then you just got a bigger snowball in your head. If you want clarity, it has to be that you recognize. So I recognized I want to quiet down. I might not be able to quiet down as quickly as I'd like to, but at least I know I'm in kind of a funk. And if my husband says, you know, what's the matter? I'll say, don't worry, it's not you. I'm just in a funk. What are you going to do? It's like you ride it out. It's not that you have to do anything. Because that's the one good thing about change. It keeps coming. But you also are going to keep reverting back to what your natural, innate state is. And that is one of peace of mind and contentment and gratitude and love and beauty. Oh my God, if you want to see if you're in a good mind, how many times do you see the sky? I see beauty. I mean, I can't stop seeing beauty everywhere I go. I take a lot of photographs. I love going on walks. I'm always talking about the sky and stuff like that. But I had a client one time who was in her late 80s, if you can believe this. She was so wound up. She was a manic depressive, and she was so wound up. I spent the entire day with her, and I told her I'd talk to her about anything except for the one thing that kept coming up is her, you know, she was a little obsessive about and compulsive about this one topic. And it's like, I'll talk to you about anything except for that. At the end of the day, and she followed me like a puppy everywhere. At the end of the day, she had finally sat down in the lounge chairs out in the yard. And she came into me and she says, did you know clouds move? She was 80 some odd years old and had never seen the clouds move. Talk about not being able to be in a quiet enough place that you see that. It's the same thing as shooting stars. If you're never out there lying down to see the night sky, you won't see them. Doesn't mean they're not there, but man, when I hear about shooting stars, I'm going to start looking for them. I start hearing about contentment and wonder and finding more peace of mind, I'm going to start looking for that. So that's how I kind of see the three principles, you know, people who are coaching, people who are, you know, in therapy with the three principles, people, everybody who is connecting is bringing themselves back to that emotional health. We're all sharing that. We're all helping people to have less on their mind so that they can enjoy life more.
Beautiful. Thank you, Karen. And if people want to find you, where can they find you?
I guess the best way is just to, I'm probably just go through my email, I guess. I don't know. I haven't thought about that in a while. I don't have a website anymore.
But they can find you on Heartfelt Presence on Thursdays.
Yes, heartfeltpresence.org on Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Oh, I also do once a month, Three Principles Canada. What do we call it? Hangout. We just call it the Three Principle Canadian Hangout. And that's through Facebook if someone wants to get in touch with us there.
And it's good conversation.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Martine.